What up YouTube? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing some of my recommended upgrades to the Creality CR10s. So, let's get into it. So the upgrades we're going to be focusing on in this video is the Creality 3D Ultrabase, which is available from AliExpress. As you can see, a lovely speckled pattern there. It's really good for sticking prints to the bed when it's warm, but they release really nicely when it's cold. We're going to be printing a replacement fan shroud to help better direct the air towards the part when it's printing. We're going to be fitting the Aluminium Extruder upgrade to make everything nice and rigid inside the extruder mechanism. We're also going to be printing a little extruder cog to go on the extruder motor just to help manually turn it when we want to extrude filament. And also we're going to fit some nice Capricorn tube, which has a smaller internal diameter than regular PTFE tube, which allows for a lot less slop inside the tube so you can have more accurate retractions. So, let's get started. So the first thing we need to do is remove our old trusty mirror. It has served me well, but is now going to the scrap heap. No, not really. It'll be put away in case I need it for anything else, or maybe a new printer in the future. If you ended up leveling your mirror like I did in a previous video, then you'll want to remove the masking tape out in the middle, because the actual new Ultrabase is a millimeter thicker, so it's a lot more rigid. Also, the advantage of getting a Creality one is that it fits the bed perfectly. There's no sort of border around the edge, so that's quite nice. So just reapply your binder clips and that's it. I did a quick test print just to see whether everything was working, and yes, it appears to be working quite nicely. So next I flicked over onto the other printer and I started printing the extruder knob. This was just a model that I found on Thingiverse and it works quite well for what I'm trying to do. I did a quick test fit here. It just pushes onto the extruder gear, but now we need to take it off again and we need to start disassembling the extruder mechanism. So next you want to grab the tools that came with the printer and find the little spanner that matches the bone and tube coupler on the end of the extruder mechanism. You can loosen that with the spanner and then it will just come off with your fingers. Also, I just realised watching this back that I actually left my little screwdriver bit in one of the things. So remove that if you've been an idiot like me. But the next step is just to take the screw off from the extruder arm. It's the one at the end of the arm. So just loosen that and then the whole thing should lift off. Be careful of that spring. Once you've done that, you can remove the other 3 screws that's holding the motor in place. Now, be warned, once you take that last screw out, it will drop like a stone, so be careful about that. I would recommend removing the cable from the extruder motor first. That way, once you take it off, you can then just move that straight out of the way. Then you can remove the rest of the plastic parts. When you buy the kit, you should receive all of these parts to assemble it. I would recommend pausing the video here and having a quick look and making sure you've got everything you need. So grab your main extruder mount and you want to attach it in the same way as the original came off using the provided screws. You want to do the 3 that I'm showing you in the video. One should be a countersunk one and then the opposite 2 should just be regular screws. Next you want to grab the extruder arm and the little bushing, and you want to put the bushing inside the extruder arm like I'm showing you here. Next grab one of the shorter screws that you attach the extruder mount with and screw it into the extruder arm. It should only go in so far and you should have it sticking out a little bit. That's what we'll hook the spring onto in a moment. Next, screw the longer screw into the back of the extruder mount, like I'm showing you here. It should go all the way through and you should have the end of the screw sticking out so you can hook the spring onto it like this. Now, grab that final screw and put it into the bushing that we put in earlier. Then put the spring between the screw we just screwed in and the extruder arm screw. It's a little bit fiddly, but with a bit of perseverance you should be able to get that screw to screw down in. Make sure you don't cross thread anything, and once it's nice and tight you should be able to activate the extruder arm like this. The last thing to do is just to screw in the provided coupler and then you're all done with the extruder mechanism. If you weren't doing the Capricorn upgrade, you would just put the PTFE tube back into there, but being as we're going to be doing the Capricorn upgrade, you want to start by taking the little tape off of the original and removing the original PTFE tube. Now you should be able to just push down that little plastic bit on top and remove the PTFE tube, but mine's a bit messed up. It was been like that ever since I had the printer, so I'm just unscrewing mine. Now annoyingly my camera angles weren't great in this, but you want to remove those two screws that's on the front of the printer here and here. These are just Allen screws, so you can use the Allen key that come with the printer, or in my case I'm using a little screwdriver set. Now you want your Capricorn tube to be the same length as the original PTFE tubes, so I would recommend just lining the two up next to each other and using that as a guide. I just marked it with a Sharpie, and in my case I'm actually using a pipe cutter to cut the Capricorn tube because I didn't want to crush the edges, but this is probably a bit overkill. I've seen people online that have just cut it with some regular cutters that came with the printer and it's been fine. Incidentally though, if you do have a pipe cutter, it makes a really nice job of the actual end of the tube, as well as it's just a really simple and easy way to do it. You can see the internal diameter there is a lot smaller than the Bowden tube, so this should be quite good. Now I bought my Capricorn tube with some extra couplers because I wanted to replace that one on the top, so I'm just screwing it back in here. But you should be able to use the original no problem because it's the same outside diameter. The tube just pushes into the coupler and it should then grab hold of it and hold nice and tightly. Now somehow my camera wasn't filming when I reassembled it, but it is just reassembling it in the reverse order to the way you took it apart, and then I just went through and taped the Capricorn tube back to the original wiring and it's all nice and neat. So the last thing to do is just to replace that fan shroud. So I printed the model from Thingiverse, and it's just the two screws at the bottom of the part cooling fan on the right hand side. Once you've removed those, you'll be able to remove the little fan shroud part, and the one that I've printed is just a direct replacement for that. So just attach the new shroud in the same way as the original and you will be all done. Now the eagle-eyed amongst you probably noticed that I've suddenly acquired an auto bed leveling sensor. Yeah, this was sort of filmed in different parts, and originally I was going to put it all in one big video, but then it was going to be really long, so I thought the easy ABL sensor deserved its own video, so that's what we'll be doing in part 2. But as always, all the links will be down in the description for all the things that I've used and any useful information that I can think of to put down there. But anyway, thanks everybody for watching. If you enjoyed, please like, comment and subscribe. It helps me out a lot. And I shall see you next time. Ta-da!